welcome to another edition of Did You Know Doctor Who, what you may not know about Doctor Who. This time we're going to have a look at the second Doctor story, Seeds of Death. I hope you enjoy. Although Brian Hales is solely credited as the story author, series script editor Terrance Dicks rewrote episodes 3 to 6 of the script. This was partially because he considered Hales' original ending lackluster and unworkable, but also because originally Jamie McCribbin was to have been replaced by a new companion called Nick by this story. Patrick Troughton does not appear in episode 4 as he was on holiday when it was being recorded. A double stands in for him in some shots where the Doctor is seen unconscious on the floor. The working title for the story was The Lords of the Red Planet. This is the only story to feature the footage of an Ice Warrior on location, where in episode 4 an Ice Warrior was filmed on Hampstead Heath in London. Previously the Ice Warriors had appeared only in studio. According to Michael Ferguson, during a break while shooting scenes with an Ice Warrior, Steve Peters was leaning against a tree in his Ice Warrior costume, minus his helmet, smoking a cigarette. A woman then happened to drive past, noticed this peculiar sight, and was so fixated on it, she hit the back of a police car. Brian Hales' script differed from his story breakdown in several respects. Kelly was originally a man assisted by a woman named Mary Burcott, with the former changed to the female gear Kelly. Mary became Brent. The Ice Lords were envisioned as more humanoid than their warrior counterparts, and episode 2 would have introduced Slar's superior named Vizek. The Martian spores were only intended to erupt after 4 weeks, rather than almost instantaneously, and were initially destroyed by a concentrated oxygen, possibly a liquid form instead of water. To keep the return of the Ice Warriors a surprise, Steve Peters was credited as Alien in Radio Times for episode 1. Peters was never previously appeared as an Ice Warrior, so his name was no clue as to the alien's identity. This is the last story where a main cast member went on holiday during the production, as the episode per season was pretty much halved in the following series. The footage of the rocket in episode 5 is stock material of Manera 4, a mission launched in 1964 to map the surface of Mars. Notably enough, the images were taken by it were sufficient to dispel belief in intelligent life on the planet. When Zoe lets the Doctor inside the Weather Control Bureau, he falls into the foam and she is clearly smiling as she closes the door. This is because Patrick Troughton genuinely slipped over her and Wendy Padbury was trying not to laugh. This was the first story from Patrick Troughton's run to be released on home video. It was also the first story from the 1960s in black and white to receive a release. The script originally contained a line where Aldred revealed that his rocket achieved the first manned moon landing. This was altered to account for the likelihood that NASA would probably accomplish this feat soon. Michael Ferguson disliked how slow the story was upon rewatching it. It was originally planned to have 4 standard Ice Warrior costumes available, but this was reduced to 3 in order to cut costs. This was one of just 7 of the 21 Patrick Troughton serials which exists in its entirety. It was Patrick Troughton that asked for Fraser Hines to delay his departure as Jamie. And finally, this is the first appearance of an Ice Warrior commander. And that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed. The Seeds of Death for too many people is considered the best Ice Warriors story by a long shot, and I can probably understand why. The idea of the story of the Ice Warriors terraforming the planet to fit their own needs is quite an interesting concept. You know, I'm very surprised there's not a lot of stories which involve aliens terraforming Earth to fit their own needs. You know, you'd think the idea of terraforming would be explored a lot more, but it really hasn't. This is probably one of the few times it has. The Ice Warriors, I've always said that I absolutely love the Ice Warriors as an alien concept. I wish they would have used a lot more. And this is definitely one of their most threatening appearances, certainly, and I think this is probably one of their best appearances by a long shot. The Ice Warriors are intimidating, fascinating, all the same, and I think the idea of the seeds being used across the planet to essentially terraform the world is very interesting, to say the very least. Even if nowadays it does sort of look a little bit outdated, with it obviously being very much foam, and the Ice Warrior leader that's speaking on the telecom being all glittery, which is kind of funny to think about. You can tell there are bits of glitter stuck onto him, but nonetheless I still think this is a fun story. I think this is really well done. In my opinion, this does the Ice Warriors justice by a massive shot. I think this is definitely one that, if you're a fan of Ice Warriors, this is the episode to go to. So yeah, there's not really much else to say. Very good episode. Very, very, very good episode. Probably the best in terms of the Ice Warriors stories by a long shot. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Did You Know Doctor Who, and I'll see you next time.